Okay, let's just start with the big question, right? How does an 18-year-old girl, way back in 1816, sit down and write one of the most profound, most chilling critiques of a failed creator ever put to paper? The story of a maker who's completely outclassed morally by his own creation. Well, the answer isn't just that she was a genius. It's something deeper. It's like there's a secret key, a hidden philosophy that unlocks the entire book. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at the big mystery at the heart of the book. Then, we'll uncover this ancient secret heresy that I think is the key. We'll trace how these wild ideas could have even reached Mary Shelley. And then, we'll use that key to look at Victor, the creature, and finally, what this all means for us today. Let's get into it. So, let's start with the central mystery of the novel. Right from the get-go, the book throws this relationship at us that just feels completely backwards. The guy who creates life is the real monster, and the monster, he's the one who's deeply, heartbreakingly human. And this quote, this is it. This is the absolute core of the whole thing. The creature isn't just whining here. He's making a powerful logical accusation. He's demanding justice. He's saying, you made me, and then you threw me away for no reason. You see? This is so much more than a simple monster story. It's basically a theological lawsuit. So that brings us back to the big question. How did she pull this off? I mean, where does this stuff come from? Well, Mary Shelley wasn't just some literary genius working in a vacuum. She was standing right in the middle of this perfect storm of culture and ideas. And a really old, really radical philosophy about God and creation was kind of bubbling up all around her, even if people didn't have a name for it yet. And that storm, that's what leads us to the key, the secret ingredient that I think makes the whole novel click into place. It's this ancient, almost forgotten heresy, a set of ideas so radical they were basically hunted down, their books burned, and their followers scattered. We're talking about Gnosticism. So what is Gnosticism? Well, put simply, the ancient Gnostics looked around at the world, at all the pain, the chaos, the injustice, and they said, you know what? There is no way the real, ultimate, perfect God made this mess. Their big idea was that our material world was actually created by a lower, flawed, and kinda clueless deity, an arrogant God who thought he was the real deal but wasn't. Okay, and to really get this, you just need three key concepts. Think of them as our Gnostic decoder ring. First, you've got the demiurge. That's the name for this flawed, bungling creator god. Then you've got the pneuma. That's the divine spark, a little piece of true divinity and wisdom that gets trapped inside the flawed creation. And finally, there's gnosis. That's the aha moment, that sudden awakened knowledge when you realize your true nature and the messed up state of the world. Got it? Demiurge, pneuma, gnosis. And that brings us right to the heart of the Gnostic problem, which is exactly the creature's problem. It's this agonizing question that stretches right across the centuries, from ancient philosophers to Frankenstein's monster on a freezing glacier. Why am I here? Why am I trapped in this suffering world made by a god who seems to hate my very existence?
Okay, but hold on. If all the Gnostic books were destroyed, they were literally hunted down and burned by the early church, how in the world did Mary Shelley know about any of this? The main stash of these ancient texts wasn't found until 1945 in a place called Nag Hammadi in Egypt. So, what gives?
Well, the ideas didn't come from a book. They weren't transmitted through this kind of cultural code. They were in the air. For one, they were baked into Milton's Paradise Lost, which, by the way, both Victor and the creature read, a story with a surprisingly sympathetic devil and a very questionable god. The ideas were also in her DNA, coming from her radical parents who championed reason above all else. And maybe most powerfully, they were in her real life, embodied by the brilliant, creative, but deeply destructive men she was surrounded by, like her husband Percy Shelley and the infamous Lord Byron. And of course, the wild, shocking science of her time was a huge piece of the puzzle. And you have to understand the context here. It's absolutely wild. Just 13 years before she even started writing Frankenstein, a scientist named Giovanni Aldini was putting on public shows in London where he'd take the fresh corpse of an executed criminal and jolt it with electricity, making its limbs twitch and its face contort. The idea of creating life, or at least the appearance of it, without a soul wasn't science fiction. It was public spectacle. It was real, it was terrifying, and it was everywhere. She was breathing this stuff in. Okay, so now that we have this Gnostic key, let's go back and unlock the characters. And let's start with the creator himself, Victor Frankenstein. Because when you look at him through this lens, he's not just a mad scientist. He is a pitch-perfect example of that flawed creator god, the Demiurge. Just look at the matchup. It's not even a fair fight. Victor has the technical skill, he can literally create life, but he has zero wisdom, zero empathy, zero forethought. It's all about his own ego and glory. And the second his creation takes its first breath, what does he do? He runs away in horror. He completely abandons it. And here's the kicker, he never gets it. He never has that moment of gnosis, of self-awareness, where he realizes he is the problem. He is the flawed creator, through and through. I mean, just listen to the sheer arrogance in his own words. He's not thinking, I'll create a friend, or I'll advance science for humanity. No, he's thinking, a new species would bless me as its creator. He wants to be worshipped. That is the ultimate fantasy of the Demiurge, to have all the power of a god with none of the responsibility or wisdom. It's pure ego. All right, so if Victor is our flawed Demiurge, then the creature, well, he's the exact opposite. He is that divine spark, the pneuma. He's this beautiful, intelligent, empathetic soul trapped inside a horrifying body, a material prison built by his ignorant creator. And the proof is all over the book. This is a being who teaches himself how to speak, read, and even feel empathy just by secretly watching a family in a cottage. He reads epic poems and philosophy and actually gets it, probably better than Victor ever did. Over and over again, the monster proves he is smarter, deeper, and, without a doubt, morally superior to his maker. And then he has his gnosis moment. He finds Victor's journal, reads about his own creation, and it all comes crashing down. It's this absolutely brutal awakening. He realizes he wasn't created out of love or for any grand purpose. He was the result of a frantic, selfish obsession, and was rejected the instant he came into being. That horrifying knowledge is his curse, but it's also what makes him truly, profoundly self-aware. Okay, but here's where it gets even deeper. Shelley's critique doesn't just stop with Victor. She zooms out. The problem isn't just one flawed creator. The book suggests the whole world that made Victor is fundamentally broken too. Throughout the story, you see a world that's just not right. It's unjust. Innocent people suffer, and everyone is driven by fear. But check out this really subtle, brilliant detail. Remember Victor's best friend, the good guy, Henry Clarville? Well, what's his big life goal? To go to India and help with the British colonial project. So even the most virtuous character in the book is aiming to be part of a massive system of oppression and destruction. In Shelley's view, the whole of society, the whole material world, is the flawed creation. And that's why the creature's desperate cry, "Why did you make me?" is so powerful. It's not just a monster's plea. It is the Gnostic question hurled at the universe. It's the sound of that divine spark trapped in a broken world, demanding to know why, from the careless god who trapped it there. So, by channeling all of this, these ancient underground ideas, her own painful experiences with brilliant but reckless men, Mary Shelley, at just 18 years old, creates the ultimate story about the dangers of creation without responsibility. It's the definitive myth about what happens when you have power without wisdom and creation without love. And now fast forward 200 years. Here we are, developing AI, editing our own genes. We are becoming the creators. And Shelley's Gnostic warning is more terrifyingly relevant than ever. Her question is now our question, and it just hangs in the air. As our technical power explodes, have we developed the moral wisdom to handle it?